Okay, there we go. So this is where I say welcome to the Geek Group. And I'm kind of excited tonight because I feel like I must be moving forward because I have an actual disclaimer to read. So I feel like this has got to be progress if I'm about to read a disclaimer. So here's what I got so far, and I promise you it'll change over the weeks. But I say topics, properties, and investments discussed are for educational purposes only. We do not sell securities. Each investor is responsible for their own decisions and must evaluate investments according to their investment risk tolerances. Opinions expressed are those of speakers and no one else. There you go. How does that sound for a disclaimer right off the bat there?
I like it. A little professional, Max. That's beautiful. CYA.
It's probably the hair. Probably what's changing things right now. Okay, so I'm very excited to have Ben Kelly on the call tonight as our guest speaker. And as I said before, Ben and I are brothers despite the different last name. Don't let that fool you. Ben is my brother. That should be a disclaimer too, just so you know where we're coming from. And I do have an intro for Ben, and I appreciate this. Ben Kelly is a father, husband, and human who lives in Redondo Beach, California. He has spent 6 years running the entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, in 2 different businesses. Now Ben helps other people get what they want from their business. Please welcome professional EOS implementer, Ben Kelly.
Hey, everybody. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. I am so excited to be here with you. I listen to you check in, and I just feel like I'm with my peeps. You guys are growing. You guys are learning. The books you're reading. I love it. So I'm really excited to be a part of this tonight. And just for the record, Audible is reading. I just say reading, even though I listen to the book on Audible because that's how I best take in information. But that's just my 2 cents. I am one of the founders of MultifamilyGeeks, and so I have history with a lot of people here. And I love what Max has done with the group. I love the pivot. I am, my heart is with it. It's a values match mastermind, and you individuals growing together every week, working together, being able to partner with anyone in the group because you share some of the same values. It just, man, I love it. So I really appreciate being here. And with that, I'm just going to get into this. I know you guys, some of you have turned off your screens. What I'm asking is if you have hands up or you want to click on, because I'm looking for as much interaction as possible to know that you guys are actually listening and nobody is sleeping or out to get dinner or another drink, which is fine. You're allowed to get another drink. I'm going to start this talk with something I feel very passionate about this because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs get into business and they have these visions and they're like, hey, let's go buy a building, invent a product, create a nonprofit. Let's do all these things. Let's design projects. And then they get going. And then about somewhere down the road, I don't know whether it's 6 months or 6 years, they go, wow, managing people really sucks. And because of that, they kind of curtail their dreams, their products, their companies. And they say, I'd rather kind of do just this. And so I feel like companies, family businesses, and small businesses are just the building block of our country. They are the way that we are set up. The United States of America recognizes LLCs, S Corps, and corporations. It's the way that employees get paid, people's families put kids through college, they pay mortgages, they get health insurance. So it's just the building block of the country. It's just how I see it. And so when you run a company and you have employees and you're paying them wages, whether it's in acquisition fees or splits of this deal or not, or you're paying health insurance, I really feel like that is really bringing something to the country, the community. And when your employees, when your team work in a healthy environment, there are a few places like that, as I can attest from my corporate experience and different partnerships over my life. So I feel like when you run EOS, it's a system for harnessing human energy. And I'm going to kind of just jump right into this and just share with you. That's why I'm excited to be with you tonight, because everything I'm going to share with you was created by a lifelong entrepreneur by the name of Gino Wickman. I don't know how many of you have read this book. I know I've talked to you about it. Okay. So everything I'm going to share with you tonight was created by Gino Wickman. He's been an entrepreneur since the age of 21. At 25, he was called in to run his family's business, found out it was in need of a turnaround, worked with the leadership team to turn the company around over about 3 years, ran the company for another 7, sold it, spent a year and a half transitioning into the new leadership team, and then retired from that business. During that same time he was doing all the family business stuff, he was one of 10 original members of the Eos Detroit chapter, the entrepreneurs organization. And in working with the other members in the chapter, he just discovered that he had a knack and passion for the art and science of how to run a truly great entrepreneurial company. When he retired from that business, he just decided to follow that knack and passion full time. When he made that decision, he started cobbling together EOS, which is just a set of simple, real world, practical tools, timeless concepts. They've been around for 100 years. They're going to be around for another 1,000. You're not going to find any magic pills or silver bullets in what I share with you here today. Since Gino started creating EOS, he and I and another 430 implementers around the globe have conducted over 91,000 full-day sessions with the leadership teams of over 14,000 organizations. When we're working with leaders, we make them better at 3 things we call vision, traction, healthy. And vision just means getting all of your leaders 100% on the same page with where you're going and how you're going to get there. Traction means instilling discipline and accountability throughout your organization so that no matter where you go, you see people executing on your vision. And healthy just means making you a more functional, cohesive, open and honest, fun-loving team, because unfortunately, leaders often don't function well as a team. From there, we find as goes your leadership team, so goes the rest of your organization. Ultimately, we get to the point where everybody is 100% on the same page with your vision, executing on that vision with discipline and accountability, and working together as a healthy bunch of people who actually enjoy spending time together. The types of companies I work with are entrepreneurial. Most of them have between 10 and 250 employees. Their owners and leaders, you, are typically growth-oriented, open-minded, willing to be open, honest, and vulnerable with themselves and the people around them. And they're more afraid of the status quo than they are of change. So that's a little bit about EOS. A little bit about me. One of my first jobs was at a $4 million startup where I held the patents for the product. That was a great first ride. They sold that company for over $40 million in about 4 years. But to be open, it wasn't all perfect. Most of what I learned was what healthy does not look like in relationships, in management, and structure. Just wasn't a very healthy place. About 5 years ago, I started a real estate investment company with my brother, my real brother, Mr. Max Rock. That's where I was when I read Traction and discovered EOS. And it resonated for us. And we implemented EOS in that business, MultifamilyGeeks. It really helped us build larger teams and go to the next level. About 2013, I started a business with my wife that I joined full-time 2 years later. In that business, there were some real ups and downs. And in our struggles, we hired an outside implementer to help us come in and run EOS. That process was phenomenal. Unfortunately, working with my wife or my wife working with me was not phenomenal. And to be honest, it just wasn't great for our marriage. that implementer help me move out of the day-to-day and into an owner seat. And after 3 years of successful implementation, my wife is a big fan of EOS. She's up to 21 people now. She's having fun working with her team. She's going to have the best year ever, both in top line growth and bottom line margin. And most importantly, we're still married and doing well as a family. And through that process, I just saw the light. It just came together for me. I saw how my strengths and values overlaid with EOS. And I realized how my experience could be of value to a lot of other business owners. And that's why I am so pumped to be here with you tonight, hopefully helping you get what you want out of your business. And with that, I typically just jump right into the tools. I want to share with you what it looks like at the end of a journey when all of our work is done. And the best way for me to do that is with a model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to share my screen. See how this goes. You're in window and
yeah,
share.
It sometimes takes a second to load. So click share and then give it a second here.
Can you see a pen?
Yes.
All right, success.
Yes.
So the best way to illustrate this with you is with a model. And this model has your business in the center of it. And this model stems from a discovery that all entrepreneurs, all entrepreneurial leaders tend to struggle with 136 issues simultaneously. That discovery tells us to the extent you can strengthen the 6 key components of your business, those 136 issues just tend to fall into place because they're really just symptoms of the true root cause. And so when I talk about the journey we're about to embark on, and this is what I tell my clients if we decide to work together, is really a journey to strengthen the 6 key components of your business. I'm going to share those with you first at a high level, a first pass around the model, and then on the second pass, I'll get into more detail. So are you ready?
Yes.
I see heads nodding. Fantastic.
Yes. Yes.
The first key component of your business, of any business, is the vision component. This is just getting everyone 100% on the same page with where you're going and how you plan to get there. Now, on the second pass around the model, what I'm going to do is introduce 2 tools or disciplines that will help you understand how we strengthen the vision component in all 6 components, but we'll save that for the second pass. The second key component is the people component. Very simply, you can't achieve a great vision without great people. And the truth is, every organization defines great people differently. When we get into the tools and disciplines, we're going to cut through all the wonderful terms out there: A player, superstar, top quartile. And we're going to get right to the heart of what makes for great people in your multifamily team, in your business, in your organization. The third key component is the data component. This is just running your business on facts and figures and objective information rather than the feelings, emotions, egos that so often drive decision-making in an entrepreneurial company. And what happens when your vision, people, and data components are strong in your organization is your business is going to become transparent, crystal clear, and you're going to have a lot of impurities, problems, challenges, needs, obstacles, and they're just going to jump right out at you. That leads us to the fourth key component, one of my favorites. We just call those issues. Strengthening your issues component is just getting really good at solving your problems as they arise. You cannot achieve success if you're not great at setting up your problems as they arise, knocking them down, and making them go away forever. The fifth key component is the process component. Strengthening the process component is just about getting the most important stuff done in your business the right and best way every time. It creates consistency and scalability. It makes it easier to manage, more profitable, and more fun. The sixth key component is traction. Traction is about bringing your vision down to the ground and executing on it day in and day out. There is no coincidence that vision is at the top of the model and traction is at the bottom, because if you can't bring your vision down to the ground and execute on it, well, vision without traction is hallucination. That's the funniest joke I've got for you all night. In a minute, I'm going to introduce 2 tools or disciplines to strengthen the traction component and help you get what you want from your business. But for now, those are the 6 key components. The 6 key components make up the EOS model. And what EOS stands for is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And what EOS is just a way of harmonizing and orchestrating all the moving parts of your business so that you can run a better business and, frankly, live the life that you want to live. The journey that we're on together is designed to strengthen the 6 key components of your business. Now, we make an assumption that you're in the right market, selling the right products and services into that market. If you're not, there's nothing we can do to help you. This is about execution. If you are in the right market, EOS and strengthening the 6 key components of your business can help you achieve everything you want to achieve with your business. When I talk about strengthening the 6 key components of your business, we measure progress on our journey together with a scientific but subjective scale of 0 to 100% strong. We're working to strengthen each key component, get it to 100% strong, knowing that that's impossible. It's utopia. It's never going to happen. Truth be told, our goal is simply to get you to 80% strong or better. Truth be told, most businesses are out there operating around 20% strong, mental glitch, 20% strong in the 6 key components, succeeding in spite of themselves. We'd be embarking on a journey, if we work together, to get you to 80% strong or better. We want to help you run a better business and live the life you want to live. That's the 6 key components. That's the EOS model. If you're ready, I'd like to get into the good stuff and introduce the tools and disciplines that I promised a few minutes ago. Does that sound good? Happy
Sounds
Halloween.
good.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So the first key component is the vision component, and the first tool or discipline is something that we call the 8 questions. Very simply, I am going to work with you and your leadership team, answer 8 simple questions, get you all on the same page with your vision. What are those 8 questions? What are your core values? What is your core focus? What is your 10-year target? What is your marketing strategy? What is your 3-year picture? What is your 1-year plan? What is your quarterly rocks? And what are your issues? Those are the 8 questions. We keep those 8 questions on a 2-page document we call the Vision Traction Organizer, or VTO for short. This is the first tool I'm going to share with you tonight. Whether you use me or not, please use this tool. It is a very powerful tool that will help you crystallize the vision for your organization. You can download these at EOS Worldwide. You can reach out to me, and I can figure out how to send you one of these tools, whether it's digitally or if it's through email or physically. I'll open the document up. Typically, you have one of these so that the vision page faces us. The 8 questions or 8 sections of the VTO are indicated in the gray areas. We'll walk through it one at a time very briefly, starting with core values. Are you familiar with the term core values? And
Yes.
so you are.
Yeah.
Thank you. Core values are just an essential set of guiding characteristics that define who you are at the core and what you want from the culture of your organization. I will take you through a discovery exercise that will help you discover the true core values of your unique organization. And then in the people component, I'll explain exactly how we use your core values to attract great people to your organization, the kind of people who fit your culture, the kind of people you want to be surrounded with, and repel people who aren't a great fit for your culture. That's core values. Question number 2 is, what is your core focus? Core focus is just the sweet spot of your organization. It's been called a million things in the history of business. A lot of people call it vision statement. Some people call it mission statement. Stephen Covey calls it voice. Jim Collins calls it hedgehog concept. I apologize for throwing another term at you. We call it core focus because it comes from your core. Once it's clearly defined and articulated, the trick is to stay laser focused within your core focus so that you know you're always working within your sweet spot. Question number 3 is, what is your 10-year target? This is just a long-range, big goal for your business. The time frame is flexible, anything between 5 and 30 years out. It's a clearly articulated, simple number 1 business goal for your organization. It gets you all on the same page with where you're going long term. Once that's crystal clear, we move on to question number 4. Your target market is simply, your marketing strategy is simply designed to get you all on the same page with who you should talk to and what you should say to get the biggest return on your investment and precious sales and marketing energy. There are 4 parts to your marketing strategy: target market, 3 uniques, proven process, and guarantee. The target market is just getting you all to agree on the ideal prospect. That is the demographic, geographic, and psychographic profile of the kinds of people or companies you should be laser focused on proactively selling and marketing to. Once that's clear, the rest of your marketing strategy is simply your message to those ideal prospects. 3 uniques is 3 differentiating characteristics, 3 things about your business that makes you different and better than your competition. It sets you apart from your competition. The proven process is just a 1-page visual illustration of the way you take care of your clients or customers from the minute they start thinking about doing business with you to the time that they are longtime business partners of yours. The guarantee just reduces the fear of adoption. It eliminates objections that you might face in the sales and marketing process. Those are the 4 components of your marketing strategy. When you are all on the same page with your core values, your core focus, your 10-year target, and your marketing strategy, you will know who you are at the core, what you love to do and are best at with your core focus, where you're going long term, and how you're going to get there. We then crystallize the vision for the organization, start to bring your vision down to the ground and make it real with your 3-year picture. Let me close my door in case that saw is a little loud. This is not a detailed 3 to 5 year strategic planning process that we're going to go through here. All we're trying to do is to get every member of your team to crystallize and visualize exactly what your company needs to look like in 3 short years from now. If you can all see the same 3-year picture in your mind's eye, the chance you're going to achieve that vision becomes significantly higher. We start by quickly defining your revenue, profit, and measurables. If you can see that. Zoom out. What do we need to achieve in 3 years to lay the foundation for achieving your 10-year target? Then you see 5 to 15 bullets underneath the question that's a little blurry that says, what does it look like? This is where we just work to paint a picture, a clear picture of what your organization needs to look like in 3 short years from now on the way to achieving your vision. When that 3-year picture is crystal clear, there are 2 great benefits. If you can all see the same 3-year picture in your mind's eye, the chance you're going to achieve that vision are so much stronger. It also sets you up for great one-year planning. We can then turn the page of the document so that the traction side of the document faces you and really bring that vision down to the ground and prioritize and plan. The first thing we do is agree on your one-year plan. You'll notice the same predictions here: revenue, profit, and measurables. Then we work to agree on 3 to 7 priorities for the year. We call them goals. Notice we focus on 3 to 7 priorities or 3 to 7 goals, not 23, because when everything is important, nothing is important. One of the phrases we use a lot when we're implementing EOS is less is more. We've now crystallized and made predictions of what the revenue, profit, and measurables need to be this year. We've set 3 to 7 clear aligned goals. And now we just move on to the next section. We call these rocks. Rocks are just 90-day business priorities, getting you all 100% clear on what's most important at the company over the next 90 days, creating a 90-day world. We start by predicting revenue, profit, and measurables here again. Then we work to identify 3 to 7 priorities for the company over the next 90 days. Ultimately, 3 to 7 priorities for each of you on the leadership team. It creates discipline, focus, and accountability so that we're executing on your vision every 90 days. With that, we move to the last question on the VTO. What are your issues? We're going to compile an issues list. And I think I mentioned earlier, when your vision, people, and data components are strong, your organization is going to become transparent, crystal clear, and you're going to have a lot of impurities, imperfections, needs, challenges, obstacles. When we get those issues out of your head and onto your issues list, we've answered the last question on the VTO. We've answered all 8 questions. You're all on the same page. It's a simplified approach to strategic planning. That is all 8 questions, and that's the VTO. When we're all on the same page with the answers to the 8 questions, we have to go back to the vision component and talk about tool or discipline number 2. We call that shared by all. We have to get that vision shared by everyone in your organization. No matter how many people you have, whether it's 5 people or 50 people, we have to get all those people to see your vision, understand your plan, and want to be a part of it. In order to accomplish that objective in your organization, you have to tell them. You have to get in a room, an online room, a Zoom room, a physical room, with all your people quarterly, and give them a quarterly state of the company address. You have to share with everyone in your organization your vision and plan. Get them to internalize it, understand it, and want to be a part of it. Eventually, ultimately, you get to the point where all 10 of your people are focused on, are rowing in one direction, trying to help you achieve the same vision and plan that you all share. Not to get too kumbaya on you here, but to the extent that you can get everyone in your organization focused on one vision, rowing in one direction, planets line up in the universe in ways that we can't even explain. Magic happens. That is strengthening your vision component, getting you to 100% strong. I'm about to move on to the people component. Any questions right now?
No, sir.
No.
Fantastic.
Ben, just a time check. You want to finish
Yes.
by about 6:10, 6:15, okay? Just to orient yourself.
Holy smokes. Yes, sir. Let's move this along.
Yes. Thank you.
Strengthening the people component is really about 2 things we call right people, right seats. These are 2 terms popularized by Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great. What I'm going to try to do tonight is define them more clearly and then make them a little more tangible. Right people, right seats, you got to have both. Right people, just share your organization's core values. We've answered question number 1 on the VTO. We've discovered and defined your core values. Now we just have to go about ensuring that all of your people in your organization are in fact right people. That is, they consistently exhibit your core values and they fit your culture like a glove. The tool that we use for that is something we call a people analyzer. This allows you to assess all of your people as to whether or not, black or white, they're consistently exhibiting your core values. Better yet, it facilitates clear, effective communication with them, where they're falling short and where they're succeeding. It helps you drive culture and get all 40 of your people, all of your people in your organization to feel like they are right people. Right seats are just people who are good at their jobs. They're people with the God-given talent, experience, ability, and desire to be great at their job. The tool that we use for right seats is something we call an accountability chart. Now remember, right people, right seats, you got to have both. The accountability chart is based on an assumption, a basic premise or belief that every organization has only 3 major basic functions. Every organization has a marketing and sales function where they go out into the market, create demand, and turn that demand into order. Every organization has a operations function where they build the product, deliver the service, or both. Every organization has a finance function where they track money flowing in and out of the organization, deal with financial controls, acquire and manage assets like multifamily, etc. We're going to ultimately tailor the major functions of your organization to your unique needs. For now, we move on to another major function that we call Integrator. The Integrator is the person that beats the drum in your organization, the glue that holds it together, the person that drives accountability and harmoniously integrates the way the leadership team plays together to achieve the common vision. Once we agree on the major functions, we're going to crystallize the 5 major roles for everybody on the leadership team so that we're absolutely clear what the accountabilities of each person in this seat are. Then we're going to customize the accountability chart so it's the right structure for your organization. We do that in 2 ways. The first is down here at this level. We must decide how many major functions you have in your organization and what those major functions truly are. Sometimes marketing and sales splits out into 2 distinct leadership team seats. Operations sometimes splits out into 2, 3, or 4 seats. Finance sometimes splits out into HR or IT or other major functions. 3 to 7 is the rule of thumb. We have to make it right for you. The second way we customize the accountability chart is up here at this level. Now, 50% of the time, this is the way it looks for our clients. There's a clear integrator in place running the day-to-day. The other 50% of the time, there is another seat that gets added up here. We'll call visionary. Visionaries are just big idea people. They love to stay at 30,000 feet. They come to every meeting with 20 ideas. They're creative problem solvers. They hate getting in the trenches. They manage big relationships. They don't like tough conversations. That's the work best done by an integrator. If there is a visionary in your organization, we've just got to call that out and crystallize the 5 major roles of the visionary and the 5 major roles of the integrator. This is the way the accountability chart is built out at the leadership team level. Once we're clear on all the roles, we're going to build out the roles for every team in your organization, ultimately crystallizing every seat so that we create an accountability chart for the whole organization. Usually for multifamily, it's quite small. Sometimes there's an accountability chart for the parent company, and sometimes there's an accountability chart for each individual acquisition or asset. Here's where this comes back together is we use this tool to put people in seats so that what they're great at, what they love to do, what they consistently can execute on, match the 5 roles in their seats. That's how we get 100% of the people in your organization, right people, folks who share your core values in the right seats. You got to have both. When you use these tools and follow this process, there are 2 distinct people issues. The first is when you have the right person in the wrong seat. This is someone who you love. They fit your culture like a glove. They're just in the wrong seat. The good news is out of the 5 seats that you have or 20 seats that you have, maybe you can find them the right seat. If you can't, I'm going to urge you to make a tough change If you're a for-profit organization, you just can't keep a bunch of people around because they fit your culture and you love them. The other people issue is when you have the wrong person in the right seat. This is someone who is really good at their job. They're highly productive. They're hitting their numbers, but they don't fit your culture. They're chipping away at your culture right now in little ways that you can't even see. When this is the case, I'm going to urge you, beg with you, plead with you to make a tough change. They're doing more damage than good. They're going to kill you in the long run. Those are the two tools and disciplines we use to help you get right people, right seats. You got to have both. Now we're going to move on to the data component. The rest of this is going to move a little faster. Max, am I on my 10-minute warning?
Yes.
Ouch. Running your business on data is what the data component is, really boiling your business down to data rather than the feelings, egos that so often drive decision-making in an entrepreneurial company. There are two tools we use to strengthen the data component. The first is a simple scorecard. 5 to 15 high-level numbers that give you an absolute pulse on your business. It's a tool designed for the leadership team to let you know what is working and what is not working. We're going to work together to build a great leadership team scorecard for you. When you're done, it's going to look something like this. It's going to say who's accountable for each of your 5 to 15 weekly numbers. It's going to describe the measurable. There's going to be a goal, what you need to achieve on a weekly basis to feel as though you're on track to achieving your monthly, quarterly, and annual goals. It's coupled with 13 weeks of history at a glance every week for the last 13 weeks so that you can see patterns and trends developing, always keeping an absolute pulse on the business, always being alerted when something is off track, something that you need to fix, an issue you need to solve, or something that you need to put back on track. Ultimately, we get to the point where every individual in your organization is accountable for 1, 2, or 3 measurables. This is just a number that I, as an employee, one of your 5 people, am accountable for keeping on track each week. We migrate these tools and disciplines down into the organization so that everybody feels they're accountable for keeping your numbers on track each week. The fourth, that's 100% strong in the data component. Those are the two tools and disciplines we use to strengthen the data component. The fourth key component is the issues component. The good news here in smoking out all of your issues is that there's only ever been 23 issues in the history of business. We just have to get really good at solving them as they arise, solving them at the root, making them go away for the long-term greater good of the organization. Two tools and disciplines we use to help you do that. The first is the issues list. I've already introduced the concept of the issues list to you when we were answering the 8 questions. But what I want to make clear to you here is the issues list is about migrating a tool and discipline down into your organization where everybody feels absolutely comfortable raising their hand, calling it out, saying, hey, I've got an issue. So that all of your issues get onto a list somewhere throughout your organization. Once we do that, we've got to help everyone in your organization get better at prioritizing and resolving those issues. We do that with a tool called the Issues Solving Track, or IDS. IDS stands for Identify, Discuss, and Solve. This tool stems from a discovery that even great leadership teams struggle when it comes to really solving their issues at the root. Very specifically, what we've observed is a great leadership team will get into a room, they'll tackle a big issue, and they'll just end up discussing the heck out of it. Rarely will they ever identify anything like the real root cause. Rarely will they walk out having agreed on a plan of attack. Rarely will they solve anything. We've created the issue solving track to help keep leadership teams on track when they're solving issues. Here's the way it works. When you're solving issues with your team, you first prioritize the 3 most important issues you must solve this week. You look through your list and prioritize the 1, 2, and 3 most important issues. And then you dig in and IDS issue number 1. I simply requires you to dig beyond what is written on your issues list. Many times this is just a symptom. You got to dig down into your organization to identify the real root cause. Once that's clear, you then discuss the issue briefly. with nobody repeating themselves. Saying it more than once is politicking, and when the discussion gets redundant, we move to solve. We work to agree on a plan of attack that will make the issues go away forever. Those are the two tools and disciplines we use to help you get to 100% strong in the issues component, where you're using these at every level of the organization to get your issues to go away forever. The fifth key component is the process component. Here's how this works. Every company has a handful of core processes, a handful of things that makes the business truly run. There are things like an HR process for how you go out, get, and manage people, a marketing process for how you generate leads, a sales process for how you capitalize on those leads and close business, a handful of operating processes for how you buy the asset, maybe reposition it or add value, an accounting process, maybe even a customer satisfaction or customer service process. There are a handful of truly core processes. To the extent that you can get those handful of things done the right and best way every time, you create consistency and scalability in your organization. Two tools and disciplines we use to help you do that. The first is documenting your core processes. Truly documenting those core processes at a high level, a 20/80 approach to simplifying your core processes, just the major steps. And that is focusing on 20% of the major steps in the business in the process to get you 80% of the way there. The extra time and energy to document 100% of the steps, get 100% compliance, get you a 700-page SOP manual that nobody ever looks at or uses. We use a high-level entrepreneurial approach to documenting and truly simplifying your core processes, just the major steps. Once we get your processes documented, we get everyone on the same page. We then go about getting your core processes followed by all. This is a mechanism for ensuring that everyone that touches one of these core processes has been properly trained, knows the right and best way of doing it, and is doing it, and is being measured and managed to do it the right and best way every time. Your core processes documented, simplified, and followed by all. That's what creates consistency and scalability in your business. It makes your business easier to manage. It makes you have a lot more fun. It makes your profit better when everything is done the right and best way every time with your handful of core processes. That's the fifth key component, and that's 100% strong. The sixth key component is the traction component. This is where we bring that vision down to the ground and execute on it with discipline and accountability. Unfortunately, the vision component for most entrepreneurs goes unrealized because of a weakness in the traction component. There are two tools we use to strengthen the traction component. The first is rocks, and the second is a great meeting pulse. We'll take them one at a time, starting with rocks. I already introduced you to the idea of rocks when we were answering the 8 questions. We set 3 to 7 company rocks, clarifying, crystallizing your real priorities for the company over the next 90 days. We set 3 to 7 individual rocks for each of you. Ultimately, we migrate this tool and discipline down into the organization so that we create a 90-day world for the whole organization. All your employees, all of your team members will have 1 to 3 rocks every 90 days that crystallize their real priorities, things they need to go execute on with discipline and accountability. That creates a 90-day world in your organization, a feel that works like this. Every 90 days, you and your team have just been running like heck in the business and you just come up for air. You look back on last quarter and see how you did. You recheck your vision to make sure that you're all on the same page, because sometimes you're not. Once you are all on the same page, you set priorities for next quarter, and then you go back into the business and you execute with discipline and accountability for another 90 days with crystal clear priorities. That is the 90-day world that we're talking about. Within that 90-day world, we help you establish a weekly meeting pulse using a tool and a specific agenda called a level 10 meeting agenda. I will walk you through this tool very fast. Here's how it works. The level 10 meeting agenda helps you first transition into your meeting more efficiently. With a segue, we then spend the first part of the meeting checking in on everything that is important on your business, checking in on that scorecard, making sure you're hitting your numbers, checking in on your rocks to make sure they're on track, you checking in on your customers, employees to make sure they're happy. We then inject a little to-do list here to drive weekly accountability at every level of the organization. And then we spend the vast majority of the time, 60 minutes of the 90-minute meeting, IDSing, solving your real issues at the root. That's what makes for great meetings. That's what makes it feel as though you're generating traction. That's what makes the time you spend together every week valuable, efficient, and productive. We always conclude the meeting working together as a team, making sure that we're our best in our meetings every week. That is the level 10 meeting agenda. That is the meeting pulse. 100% strong in the traction component means migrating those tools and disciplines down into the organization so that everybody in your organization has at least one rock every quarter, and everybody is in the right meeting pulse for their team and department. That is the EOS model. Bam! That is 609. And those are the 6 key components.
Impressive. Impressive.
So when you sit down to look at this, you implement these in a certain way, right? There's a certain process. And I think for us, in our best use of time, it's the best to kind of really dig into the tools like we've done. And I will just pull this up on the screen. This is the Traction book. You can buy this book, and everything that I do is in this book. So you can read this book, and you can start running on EOS tomorrow. If you need help with some of your tools, you can call me. I'm happy to help you find these things online and download them or talk about the process. But that, I think, really is the best use of time. Max, at 6:10, what happens next?
Well, you're rolling into 10 minutes of questions here. I see Tarina's got a first one up already, and the rest of you get ready if you've got questions. So Tarina, I think, is asking, instead of a lengthy SOP, you mentioned that 600-page SOP, what does a process document look like under the EOS system?
You are focusing, it's almost like when you write the table of contents for a process, that's your process. It is a high-level entrepreneurial 2080 approach. If you've ever read 2080 by Richard Koch, K-O-C-H, I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's that kind of high-level look. So you're just getting the major steps. You're focusing on 20% of the major steps that get you 80% of the way there. Did I answer your question? Thanks, Trina. I love the thumbs up. Next question is, how great is that guy's hair?
You're talking about me, right? My hair, right?
I mean, of course.
2 donuts.
Anything else? Who else? What else?
I have a question.
Hit me.
Then the way that you were able to accelerate through that information and just take it off like right out of the top of your head, I'm imagining that this is something that you do every day with multiple clients. Is this true?
Yes, but EOS implementers are fanatical about mastering the process. I meet on a call every Monday with 50 implementers in the United States and solve issues, both my own and I solve theirs. And it's a continual journey of mastery.
Okay, so we're just continually putting the meat in
go
the
ahead,
grinder. Excuse me. So you're just continually putting the meat in the grinder, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, always moving toward mastery. It's different with every company. They're like snowflakes, right? Your need as a company is a little different than the next multifamily company or Bitcoin or architect. Yeah.
Cool.
I like what you've done here. Thoughts? What does everyone think? I'm open to thoughts and feedback. You know, I mean, can you see how this would help you move forward in companies that you would form, whether it's a multifamily or a property manager or a title company or an inspection. I don't know. Just trying to. What do you think?
Ben, I will give you a little bit of feedback because as you were talking, I read the book of Traction and I went through the EOS process and I actually emailed it over to Max and said, hey, Max, here it is. And there was one thing as I started looking back at it as you were talking and going through your thing, and I'm reading through, and I had like 6 rocks for this last quarter that ended on, but for the quarter for me, it wasn't actual quarter. It was July 1st through October.
Okay.
Then you said at least 1 rock. And I was looking at my rocks and I'm like, okay, well, I got 2, but man, I really didn't do so well. But if I had planned a little better and only put 1 rock, I would have felt a lot more successful this last quarter. Where right now I'm looking at it and going, well, maybe by December I'll hit these rocks.
So the leadership team takes 3 to 7 rocks as company. And then you start giving people individual rocks on the leadership team. And they can end up with 1, 2. Right? So a leadership team person can have 5 rocks. Now, when I say that everybody in the company you're migrating this rock all the way down. So, I'm working with an architect firm that has 50 people in it. So as it filters down all the way to the bottom, every single individual in their company has 1 rock, at least 1 rock. That crystallizes their real priorities, is that reference. So George, you taking 3 rocks or 6 rocks is perfect. I would say that there is always with leadership teams, the way that you set rocks the first time, and then you come back with the implementer and you're all looking at each other and you run through them, done, not done. There are some real lessons learned. And one of them typically is, I took on too much this quarter.
Yeah.
So less is more. You focus on 1 rock, 2 rocks every quarter, and you set them to hit them, and you knock that rock down, and you move forward every 90 days. So I would encourage you to reset it again and go easy on yourself. It's a learning process. So you're right on track. Great job setting rocks.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that. Thank you for the input.
Any other feedback? Anything I can do differently? Was the paper and pen, could you read that while I was showing you my camera? Was that okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yes.
Okay.
It's clear.
Wait, I have a question. When you say you are an EOS implementer full time, what does that look like, etc.? Like within your business, is that something you went through their platform and you became an EOS implementer? Is that something like a title you gave yourself? Like, what does that mean?
So it means that at some point in time, I ran this in 2 businesses, and the person that worked with us kept saying to me, Ben, you're so passionate about this. Why don't you go do what I do? And finally, I decided, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do this. Now, EOS Worldwide changed their format. You used to be able to go pay for a monthly fee and use their intellectual property to charge other companies and help them with the process. And so you had out there all these people that were really great, not so great, maybe not so great. So what EOS Worldwide did right in the middle of my journey, they said, if you're going to be out there using our IP, you can't be here. You have to be professionally trained and you have to be at this level, which means so many days, session days with so many ratings. Otherwise, we're canning you. And they did that by making every single implementer sign a franchise agreement. So I paid a boatload of money, about $30,000, went to professional training. I pay a monthly fee. I meet with other implementers every Monday. I attend quarterlies, and I am held to a very strict regimen of how I can bring their intellectual property to the market. For example, if someone goes, hey, Ben, we love this rock thing, but we're not doing that 1-year plan thing. Let's just drop that part. I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry, but we're not dropping that part. So you buy a McDonald's franchise, you get the burger, the fries, and the shakes. And so that's what that kind of means. Aubrey, did that hit it for you?
No, absolutely. Because you hear a lot of individuals say they're gurus, but they never talk about how they're a quote unquote guru or what they actually did to lead up to that makes them that. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and just to be open, right? I've been on my journey for about a year. I've been out of professionally trained, they call it boot camp, for 6 months. I've implemented for 7 different companies, and I just booked an architect with 50 people yesterday. So I'm kind of, in my infancy. My day fee is still pretty inexpensive. And I didn't talk about this, but my per day fee is $4,000 per day. And I'm giving you that out of context. And it's always fully guaranteed. What that means is if you get the end of a session day with an implementer and you got value, you hand them a check. If you didn't get value, if I didn't deliver on my promises, please don't pay me. It keeps me on my toes and helps me focus primarily on delivering value before I get anything in return. And just to give you an idea, a seasoned implementer that's been doing this for 5 years, like Mike Abercrombie or Josh Holtzman in Los Angeles, they're $7,500 a day. So they're working with companies that are 50, 100 people, right? 85% of what I do is facilitating the room, the group of leaders that can't talk about vision, that are so ticked off at each other if they hear it again, right? Getting those people onto the same page with a third-party facilitator in a process is extremely valuable, right? I can bring profit up in their company. I can help with margin. I can help with process, but just facilitating the room. So 15% of what I do with larger companies, 10 to 250 people, is the tools and the process. 85% of what I do with them is facilitating the room.
Yep. You eliminate the because it's always been done that way mentality.
One of the many things. That's right. So for you, what I love is you can pick up this book and you can go start running EOS in your companies, in your groups, right? That L10 format. That seems kind of familiar. Check-in. That's all L10, right? You guys, your team, you people, you humans, got to quit saying you guys, have already been exposed to this kind of framework by being inside the Geek group. So, spoiler alert.
Speaking of that, we got about 4 minutes before we have to go back to the document and rate the meeting. So get ready for that. Make sure you've got that document open.
Yeah. And just so you know, too, Ms. Wilder says she likes the 90-day plan for rocks.
Nice. Thank you, Aubrey. Thank you.
Back like a draft.
Doing some moderation there. I'm going to have to, I was talking to Justin the other day. I said, I'm going to have some guest moderators on here. So I'm looking forward to when that comes. Ben, you mentioned your day rate. In the first year of implementing, how many days approximately does a company hire an implementer? Just so we can multiply it by the day rate and get an annual cost for an implementer.
Great question. I didn't talk about this. This is the proven process. This is ours. It's about 5 days a year, just a gross, so when I talk to a company, I say, I'm about a $20,000 budget item annually. If you times that out and you take a $7,500 fee, that's a $37,500 budget rate. So the newer implementers like me, being less experienced, right? And I got, so $4,000 a day, that's cheap. Which obviously $4,000 is a lot of money a day, and it doesn't make sense unless you're at that point. What I love, and I'll just note this, when you call EOS Worldwide and you're like, hey, I want to learn about your system, they get you an implementer and they send you to an implementer. We don't qualify you. Okay. And when someone calls me, I was talking to a property management company today. They're like, Ben, we're less than 10 people. Do you think that would work for us? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Let's take the first step together, which is a 90-minute meeting, which is just what I showed with you. There's a couple other sections to it done a little bit differently. But you sit down with the company, you show them everything. You show them the cost and the process and all the tools, which is a great first session because you can take that and build off of that. Now, when you read the book, you're like, oh yeah, this is how Ben put it together. right? So it propels you down the road, and it's free. There's no charge for it. It's a help first. We believe in helping people first before we see anything in return. And if we never work with people and you implement from the book for the next 5 years and you change your business and you grow your life, that's fantastic. I get all excited. Sorry. All right, Max.
Oh, all right, you guys, we have about 2 minutes left before we have to jump over and rate. Is there one last short question? Okay, so if you're willing, everyone, unmute and jump over to the document. And Jay, I believe, had to jump off. So I'm reading Jay's. So,
hey, Max.
Yeah.
When this rating is in, this is about the whole meeting. Or
whole meeting.
And then so maybe 80% of this is me. Because I'm
this
open
is rating
to
the meeting,
like
not the person. And remember the rating system. If it's 8 or above, you don't have to say anything. If it's 7 or below, you not only get to say anything, but you have to say something. The point of the rating system is that people don't leave the meeting without getting something off their chest. And even if we don't have time to cover the issue right now, we can still go back and cover it later. But the important thing is to get that out on the table. Is that good, Ben?
I'm here to learn and grow. So
okay.
Yes, that's great.
You're checking up on my implementation of EOS right now. Okay, so Jay has an 8. I'm Max. I rated it as an 8.5. Justin?
I gave it a 9.
Nice. George?
I give it a 9.
Nice. Aubrey?
I gave it a 9.
Thank you. Cabrin?
Thank you, Ben.
Hey, can I ask, Max?
I give it a 9 as well.
8.5. What needs... Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold
Karen.
on one second. Ben, Tarina?
9.
Nice. Star?
8.
Okay, Pedro?
You're on mute.
Yeah, I feel that I give it a 7 because I feel that the time was cut short, and I know there was possibly more things that Ben could have brought out or explained because this needs a part 2.
Ben, you want to comment on that?
I do. So my question is, what would get you from an 8 or 8.5? And Pedro, you gave I think that was you that gave that feedback.
Yes.
Thank you, because you clearly illustrated that. Thank you. But for everyone else, what would have gotten you up to a 10? Anyone want to take it? Go ahead.
I will say this. I always say it's great to be in, the setting in general. But I think sometimes in these type of settings, when you have more than 4 individuals, it's easy to lose focus, etc. I would say the attention span of a grasshopper, to where if you had asked for, say, breakout rooms, to where we all were implementing something or talking about the rocks or why we would do it this way versus another way, etc. To where it was like live demonstration. Now we're getting to know each other, etc. So for me, I always say when someone says give 100%, if 911 was a call for an ambulance to come pick me up, I didn't give 100%, as far as I'm concerned.
So if I get that right, I appreciate the small group comments, but the other part was you never give 100%. Did I get that right or no?
No, meaning I understand when someone says they give 100%, but giving a 10 to me is almost like saying you gave 100%. So that's the pulse is gone. For me, to add an extra layer to it, to send it home, it would have been something like, say, a breakout room, etc. Because you gave a lot of information, but I also think with each portion of information, there could have been questions that could have been asked then and are written out for other individuals. So I wouldn't have given it a 10 for that. There's nothing else that could have been, quote unquote, done. However, if I were to give a 10, it would have been the element of maybe a breakout room within talking about each section. One group has traction, one group has people, one group has just when you have so many individuals. It could naturally go longer with questions, but since we're on a time crunch, those questions probably won't come out.
Aubrey, that's good feedback. You know, so for as an implementer, when we get to the end, you want to be rating the work that we do as a group, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be hitting that 10.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't do your best work, if you didn't get a chance to ask a question or get something off your chest, right? Then you want to rate lower, but you want to rate the work you did, right? So
well, I actually wrote stuff out. That's why I gave it a 9.
That's cool. I'm totally appreciate it. So I love the growing part of it, and you make a great point about the breakouts. You know, wasn't set up that way, but yeah, it's a good point. So I appreciate that.
And then I hate to be the guy that cuts everybody off, but we're 1 minute left, and one of the important aspects of our meeting is that we end on time. All right, which
Amen.
is a traction function. So
Thank
you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
everybody.
Ben. Thank you. It was
Thank
great.
you.
Enjoy your weekend. Happy Halloween,
Thank you,
everybody.
Ben, for your presentation.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Have a great evening.
Ben,
Happy
I like
Halloween.
that hairstyle.
Thanks.
I didn't
Come on,
realize it
Charmaine.
was you
What,
because I
what
came
about
in late.
That?
Oh wow, that was too much right there. That was like,
Just-
oh boy.
Just a little contrast.
Yeah, I'm leaving mine on the whole time. So mine's not a wig. That's really my hair.
Oh wow!
Take
Yeah,
care,
Ben,
everybody.
you guys too.
Bye,
Thank
you all.
you.
Thank you
Bye,
so
everybody.
much.
Have a
Great
great
to
evening.
see you all. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Wait.